Hello, Life's Deceits fam. Jen here. I hope you guys are having a beautiful start to your week. You guys are enjoying your week and pouring back into yourselves. This week, we have, actually for this month, September, we have another giveaway for you guys. And I'm excited about this one because it is called Step Into Your Truth in Style. Yes, as you can see the flyer, it is a sneaker giveaway to my sneaker lovers. This one is for you for September. I want you guys to reap the benefits of this giveaway and step in your truth in those sneakers and stomp the ground. That's right. We are doing a sneaker giveaway. I know, a sneaker, right? Who would have thought that we'll be giving away a sneaker? But the sneakers is valued at $150. And I want you to go ahead and read the caption, look at the flyer, and follow the instructions and enter this giveaway. Share it with your friends, your family, or somebody that you know who really needs a new pair of shoes, a pair of sneakers. Share it with them. Let them know that they can get a free pair of sneakers just by following a couple easy instructions. And don't forget, every month we'll be giving and doing a giveaway.
I'm the person that was able to help as many people as possible step into their value and their confidence and their power so that they could also accomplish all the things that they're meant to accomplish. I grew up with a mother that was emotionally and physically abusive towards me, and I say it plays a part a little bit because in Indian culture, it's also not something that you talk about if you were being abused at home. So here's the thing, if you're holding on to a toxic dynamic because you love family, you don't love family. What you're afraid of is the judgment from other people and what society defines as family. For me, you may have to change your definition of family. For me, family are the people that love you unconditionally and show up to celebrate you and to support you.
Being a child going through that abuse, verbally, physically, and emotionally, what was that like for you growing up? How did it affect your relationships with other children, people?
So it absolutely eroded my self-esteem. So I grew up with like zero self-worth. I would say not even zero, it was negative 100.
I am extremely proud of you for not allowing your mother's words, your ex-partner's words, and their actions to keep you as a prisoner, because you have so much purpose in you that you keep stripping off every single layer. And I'm enjoying it. And I know that all the people that you've coached and your book has touched their lives. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do? It's your purpose. It's not a job. I don't call it a job. I call it your purpose because you absolutely love it. And when you're doing something that you love, it's different. Your whole life and how you approach life is different. So can you tell us a little bit about it? Because I know, coming from a background, I think a lot of people go through this, where they're coming from a certain background where somebody tells them that they can't. You're never going to become this. You're never going to get married. You're never going to have kids. You're never going to succeed. You hold on to those words until you say, oh no, you don't dictate what I'm going to become or how far I'm going to go. What was it like for you stepping into your purpose and your calling as a coach, an author, and a tremendous thriver?
So, it's been incredibly powerful. And one of the things that I really believe is that it's not the things that we go through that make us feel alone and that cause our suffering. It's believing that we're the only ones that have gone through that actually creates the suffering in our lives, right? And when I can share my story, and when I can, in my writing, in my speaking, and in the things that I put out there, that there is someone else, and maybe their story isn't exactly the same as mine, it's a little bit different, but there's parts of it that they relate to, that just in sharing my story, I have the opportunity to make someone suffer a little bit less, to have them feel a little less isolated, because they know this experience that they're having isn't unique to them, that it's an unpleasant experience, it's a horrible experience, but it's not unique to them. And the fact that I found myself on the other side of it means that they absolutely have the ability to find themselves on the other side of it as well, because it's not because I'm lucky or I'm more special or any of those things. It's just that I did the work to find myself on the other side of it. And I'd love to share, so some of the foundation of the work that I do are these 4 pillars of confidence that I created, that I love to have people start with. So all of the work that I do with people, this is where I have them start, because there certain things are great, like affirmations are great, other things are great, but when you're in this place where you have no self-worth, it can be super triggering, right? So you can't stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm beautiful when you feel like garbage, right? Because you're saying that, but your mind is fighting back saying, actually, you're not. Like, actually, this is wrong with you, right? So the affirmation is not creating a positive response. So you're not even going to enjoy doing it. So you're not going to want to do it. So this is why I created my 4 pillars of confidence, because no matter where you are, if you start here, this lays the foundation for solid confidence. So my first pillar of confidence is to live your values. And so many people, when I say this, are like, yeah, of course I'm living my values. But are you really? Because where people get stuck is they have values that contradict other values that they have. And so it creates this misalignment within them. And as long as there's a misalignment, you can't feel confident and you can't feel at peace within yourself. Because how I describe true confidence is where you feel fully aligned and at peace within yourself. So it doesn't mean that you are going to feel like this goddess every single day, like you may, but if not, like you're just not going to have this internal war where you're fighting against yourself either, where it's just like, you can have neutrality as well, right? And so
Yeah.
it could be amazing or it could be neutral, but there isn't this internal war. And so examples of values that people have that could be misaligned are, let's just say you're really into health and fitness, and that could be one of the things that you value. But then you're also a foodie and you love trying different types of food, right? And so you might work out every day or twice a day or whatever you're doing, and you're doing all these things. And when you do that, that part of you that believes in that value feels really good. But there's another part of you that feels like you're denying yourself, and that, the one that values trying all different types of foods and having different experiences. And when you're eating your boiled chicken every day, is like, it's really resentful, and you're having this internal war. And then
Yes.
when you go and you do this food tour and you have this other experience, you go out and whatever, that part of you feels alive and it's enjoying life. But then there's this other part of you that's like, well, you're not valuing your health and fitness, you're not doing this, and now you're at war again, so you're not at peace in either one of those moments. And so the remedy to that is to do an inventory of your values, right? So you can decide, because you get to decide what's important to you, right? You can decide that you drop one of those, right? That, actually, I don't really care about trying different types of food, and I don't really, but you have to be honest with yourself. Can you
Mhm.
drop this, right? And like,
Okay.
that's not important to me. Or you could redefine this and create an integrative story, right? So, and decide that part of your health and wellness journey is the healthiest version of you can eat a variety of different foods, can have a variety of different experiences, and this contributes to your overall health and well-being. That balance is a part of that, and that's a part of balance, right? You rewrite the story so that in those moments you're not beating yourself up anymore, because now you've aligned those values, right? And this
Right.
also happens with things like, let's just say you value financial success, right? But then you believe that the path to financial success is through extreme hustle. But then you also value fun and freedom. And so every time you're working, there's that part of you that values financial success that feels really good about it. But then that part of you that values fun and freedom is pissed off and really like you're fighting, you're creating this internal battle. And then when you're out having fun or you're relaxing and you're not working, that part of you is super happy, and the other part of you is pissed off because you could be working. you could be making money at that point and you're just wasting your time, right? And so it creates this internal battle where how are you going to feel peace? How are you going to feel confidence, right? So again, you have to think about this. Okay, well, maybe I don't value fun and freedom. Maybe I just want to hustle all the time, and maybe there's a moment in your life that that's going to be the true story for you, right? And that's going to be the thing. And you're going to be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this and I'm going to do this so that I can be in alignment with myself. Or again, you could tell a new story that actually the days that I relax and I go out and do these things make me more productive, right? And it reinvigorates my energy, my creativity to be able to make more money, to be able to do more. But you have to find a way to integrate this and really, you have to sit down and do an inventory, because when you start doing this, people realize they have all kinds of conflicting values and all of these parts of themselves are fighting all the time. And I like to start here because no matter what low opinion you have of yourself, you will be able to start here, right? There won't be a lot of pushback in this, in trying to maybe retell some of the stories, yes. But like I said, at any moment in time, you get to decide. And you may decide to let go of some of those values at a period of time. And at another point, you may decide to bring them back and write a new story and whatever it is, right? But you get to decide that for yourself. Now, my second pillar of confidence is to live your passions, because you are not going to be able to be confident in life if you are living a life that is devoid of passion, because you're not going to be a very interesting person, right? Prior to being a coach, I used to be a massage therapist, and how many times people would come in and just write on their form for what they do for work, I sit at a desk. And this is the level of detachment they had from what they did. They were just, there was no heart and soul in anything that they were doing. They just sat at a desk. That was their job, right? And now imagine being out in a social setting with somebody like that, and that's how they're describing what they do, or on a date. And are you going to be magnetized? Are you going to be attracted to this person? And because they're not coming across with confidence, because how can they? Because they're so detached from what they do, right? But the so I realize that not everybody can just quit their day job and just, go after the thing that they're passionate about. But it doesn't matter. And you might not even know at this point. You could be so far removed from your passions that you don't even know. But you have to integrate your passions into your life, because this is going to change how you feel about yourself, right? So I don't care if it's knitting. If you're passionate about knitting or sewing, you can sign up for a knitting class or a sewing class, right? And when someone asks you about your week, maybe that's the thing that you're talking about because you're excited about it. And the other person might not care at all about it. But what is going to be magnetizing to them, what is going to be attractive to them, is your passion around it and your excitement around it, and your excitement around that thing that you're doing becomes a regular part of your life is going to increase your excitement towards your own life, and therefore increase your confidence in your life, right? So and if you don't know what your passions are, maybe you're going to sign up for a bunch of different classes, do a bunch of different things, right? And start to build from there. So you start creating this life that you're passionate about. So when you start talking about your life, you start talking about your life with confidence and with passion, as opposed to just complete detachment where you're not even present in your life, right?
Yeah.
And then my next pillar of confidence is to practice loving kindness towards yourself, right? And there's 4 areas of your life where you need to do this, and you need to do this every single day. So, one of the areas is your aesthetic well being. You have to do something for your aesthetic well being every single day, right? Because self love is a practice, it's a ritual, and it's not something you do once, it's something you have to practice. And aesthetic is important because people forget this, but you're not going to feel your best, you're not going to feel confident if you are not looking in a way that feels good to you. Now, this is different for every single person. And this doesn't mean you have to wake up and get dressed to the nines, but it means you have to put yourself together in some way. This is because you're not going to feel confident if you're not doing something to look well, to take care of yourself in this way. And we all have this experience during COVID, right? You weren't going anywhere. Maybe you didn't shower for a few days. Maybe you didn't shower for a week. If you had to take your garbage out, you didn't want to see your neighbor. You were embarrassed, right? And so this doesn't mean you have to get dressed into the nines every single day. But what it does mean is that you have to take some sort of effort towards your aesthetic well being every single day, no matter what, right? Even if it's just changing into a clean pair of pajamas if you're staying home and you want to have a pajama day, right? If it means showering, combing your hair, doing something, because this is also signaling to yourself that you are important enough to put in the effort to do this, not for anyone else, but for yourself. But also, this habit will help you to embody confidence as well. And then you have to do something for your mental well being every single day. Again, this doesn't need to be huge. It doesn't need to be monumental. You could do a 1 minute meditation. You could take a minute of deep breathing. You could go outside, just something for your mental well being to commit to this every single day because it's important to you, right? And then the next part of this is you have to do something for your spiritual well being every single day. So if you're religious, you could participate in your religion. If you're not, you could connect with nature. You could look at the stars, you could hug a tree, just something, put your feet in the grass, something for you to remember that you are connected to a bigger world than just yourself. This helps put our problems into perspective sometimes, right? Sometimes we can make a mountain out of a molehill because we've lost perspective. And when we look up at the sky, when we look at how big and vast this universe is, it can help put our problems into perspective. And the last thing is for your physical well being. You have to do something for your physical well being every single day. Again, this doesn't need to be monumental. It's just a habit you're cultivating to signal to your brain that your physical well being is important. So you could wake up in the morning and drink a glass of water. And that could be the thing that you're doing. You could eat a piece of fruit, just something that's small that you're doing every single day. These are habits that you're integrating throughout your day because these habits are helping you embody a confident version, because a confident person is somebody who takes care of all the aspects of their lives. And when you don't feel confident, or even if you don't feel like doing these things, just the ritual of doing them will help start to change your mindset. And then my fourth pillar of confidence is to cultivate self-trust, because you are not going to love someone you don't trust, and that applies to yourself as well. And why we don't trust ourselves is typically when we're starting from a place of self loathing. What we want is for our lives to do a 180 overnight. And that doesn't happen. Change is incremental. And we make these lofty promises and we're not able to keep them, and we don't even trust ourselves. But here's the thing: if you change 1% today, and then you change 1% tomorrow, and then you change 1% the next day, after 30 days, you won't have changed 30%, because each 1% will have compounded on the 1% of the day before. So it'll be incrementally more. So you think that these little things aren't making a difference, but they do, because all of a sudden, you're going to start thinking differently and feeling differently. But a lot of times it just becomes making more reasonable promises to yourself so that you can trust yourself. Right. So let's just say you've never worked out before. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to start working out for 2 hours every day. I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock and I'm going to do this. And then, day one comes along, you hit snooze 5 times. Maybe the second day you do it. The third day you hit snooze. By the fourth day, you've given up, right? And you don't trust yourself and you feel worse than you ever did before. But if you made a different promise to yourself, that could actually increase your self-trust and increase your confidence and then increase your ability to go further. So let's just say you decided, I've never worked out before. I'm going to do 5 push-ups every day. Of course, your body isn't going to change. Even in 30 days, if you do 5 push-ups a day, your body isn't going to change. But you know what is? Your mindset, because you're going to be the person that says you do something and follows through with it, and you're going to trust yourself and you're going to feel more confident as a result. And because you feel more confident, you'll be able to do so much more.
I love that last one. Cultivating self-trust. I don't think anyone, not even myself or the listeners, have ever thought about that. cultivating self-trust and how much we don't trust ourselves, because we overcompensate by making these big commitments, these big promises to ourselves, and we don't deliver. If you change your mindset, like you said, small progress equals big success. Because like you said, you don't have to jump into it right away and say, okay, well, I'm going to go work out every day, 2 hours, an hour. But start small, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You still did do something for yourself and you kept that promise. So change the way that you make your goals and change the way that you stay committed to the goals.
And then you start to believe that it's possible, right? And even if your body doesn't change, you will feel more confident because you kept that promise to yourself, right? And this is also why people can't establish boundaries. And oftentimes, when it comes to self care or self worth, people jump to the step of setting up boundaries. You can't set up boundaries until you trust yourself. And when you do trust yourself, you'll realize you don't need to trust other people the same way, because if they let you down, you're not going to let you down. You're going to follow through on what you say. And you don't have to be so harsh with your boundaries. People who are very, very harsh with their boundaries, it's because they have a low level of self trust. Because if they get pushback from somebody, they know that their boundaries won't hold up. But when you trust yourself, you can be gentle with your boundaries, because if somebody doesn't follow through, you don't need to be harsh. Your boundary is your boundary. You're going to withdraw your attention. You're going to withdraw your time. You're going to withdraw all of that. And you don't need the harshness and you don't need the drama around it, because you're going to move in your own best interest.
I agree. And one thing I learned about boundaries is you can't just jump and implement them. You got to implement them in yourselves first. And I learned that if I wouldn't treat myself this way, why am I allowing somebody else to treat me that way?
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I love your 4-step method. I think it's amazing. And I'm trying to remember it for my own self to practice it, because although we're healed, doesn't mean that we can't implement new things in our lives and our daily routine. And that is a perfect 4-step method that I will be implementing in my life, especially the last one, and not making so many big promises to myself. But start small. Starting small, it doesn't mean that I'm not making progress.
No, and it compounds so fast, right? Because when you start doing something small, right? Like oftentimes the person that starts with 5 minutes of exercise a day, right? They start to feel differently, that they're able to start to add more naturally and get excited about it instead of it feeling like a punishment, instead of feeling terrible. They're going to go much further than that person that tried to push themselves so hard and got burnt out after 2 weeks and gave up.
Right. I agree. This season's theme is breaking generational cycles is a lifestyle. For you, that means breaking what you call the unlovable and unworthy curse. Can you unpack that for us? What that means and how it shows up in people's lives?
Yeah, so I mean, I went over this a little bit before, but basically what that is being constantly at war with yourself, right? Because being worthy, being confident, being lovable is being at peace with yourself. That's how I describe it, right? So you're not fighting against yourself at all times, that you are able to show up in this peace within yourself, that you're able to have this neutrality, and then you can focus on moments that are in front of you that are unfolding, because instead of fighting yourself in those moments, because when you feel unworthy, when you feel so deeply unloved, you're missing your life, because in those moments where you could be present, you're not present, because instead you're thinking about yourself and how terrible you are and how worthless you are, that you're missing the things that are happening right in front of you. And when you can step into that confidence, that worthiness, that peace, now you can actually start to show up and be present for your life.
Yeah, I agree. And as a coach, not just any ordinary coach, but a relationship coach. And I know everybody hears this relationship coach, you automatically think, okay, you're talking about a marital relationship, whether it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever the case may be, husband or wife. But you're a relationship coach that teaches people self love, how to honor yourself first. and show up for your own self. And you're also a speaker. You shared the powerful story of what you've experienced in life and how you transformed your life. But I can imagine from my own self and what I've experienced and going through the process of healing, it can be painful. But once you go through that painful season, it's the most sweetest parts of my life that I had to go through was healing. I had so many different emotions. I always say healing is like, what's that candy? You know, oh my gosh, what is the candy? You know, Sour Patch? Have you ever had a Sour Patch?
Yeah.
Has anybody had a Sour Patch? You know, you start, it's sour at first. When you keep sucking on it and chewing, then you get to the sweet part. And that's how I describe my healing. Because starting it was painful, facing myself, acknowledging the things that I went through, and saying, okay, I went through it. It wasn't my fault. I love myself, and now it's time to heal. That is not easy at all. It's painful, but it will be the best decision that you will make in your life is to heal. What were some of the hardest lessons you had to unlearn about the love and unworthiness that you believed?
One was making my own love for myself conditional, conditional upon performance, conditional upon accomplishments, conditional upon so many things, right? We want to be we crave to be loved unconditionally by people, but yet we have so many conditions on our own love for ourselves. And a big part of it is just removing those conditions and deciding that I'm worthy of love no matter what. And the other part is the authenticity piece of it, right? Because we all crave to be loved for ourselves, but most of us are too afraid to show up as ourselves. So, how can anyone even fall in love with you for you when you can't even show up as you?
I have to ask you this question because there was a point in my life where I felt alone. I know you spoke about when you healed and you preferred to be by yourself, spend holidays by yourself than to be around your mom that's toxic, abusive. There was a point in my life and I asked myself this question. I like there's times where I sat by myself in my room, on my floor, in my bed, crying in tears. Because although I have my own family, although I have people around me, friends and other family members and friends that became my family that I love and we spend time together, I still ask God this question. I'm like, why did you give me a mother like this? And I sat there with questions and I said, why can't she just love me the way that I need to be loved and I wanted to be loved? I believe that there are listeners and especially women that have gone through those moments of feeling empty, feeling why me? Why couldn't you just love me? What did I do wrong as a child? Why couldn't you accept me and love me and just be that supportive mother? And I came to my own realization and having my own connection with God and healing. But for somebody who's going through that, and I can imagine that you've gone through that too and had many questions during your healing process, right? What's one thing that you could speak into somebody right now who's listening to reassure them that they're going to be okay? Because they are going to be okay.
Yeah, they are going to be okay. So, here's the thing: what separates a victim and a survivor, these aren't my words, these are the words of Dr. Edith Eva Eger, who's a famous psychiatrist and a Holocaust survivor as well. um, but what separates a victim and a survivor is a victim says, why me? And a survivor says, what now? So you could keep asking the why me, and your focus is on lack and it's focused on what's missing in your life, and you're missing the blessings. So I know we all like to unwind, watch these reality TV shows. Now, think of some of these millionaires and billionaires having a tantrum over something, right? They're in the most beautiful palatial home on this incredible vacation. They have all of these things that are absolute perfection around them, but it's the wrong brand of caviar and they're having a tantrum. And I'm not comparing abuse to that, but it's the same type of mindset, right? When you're focused on what's missing in your life, you're missing all of the abundance that is around you and you're not letting it in. And you get to choose what you're focusing on. If you want abundance in your life, focus on what is there. Even if it's only you standing in front of the mirror saying, I love you to yourself, focus on the abundance of that. And as you focus on that, you're going to start to get more. But you can't focus on what isn't there. Everybody, no matter who you ask, will say that there is some element of something that is missing from their life. But is that the thing that's dictating your life, or is it what's present in your life that's dictating your life?
I agree. And you didn't stop there. You didn't stop by coaching people on self love. You didn't stop at teaching people self acceptance. You decided, I'm going to write a book. There is an author in me. And you became a best selling author. You have an upcoming book, Broken to Blissful. The title alone has me like, I'm excited. I need my copy. You're in Toronto. I'm in Toronto. So tell me when I can come pick it up.
So it's probably going to be about January now. So we're in the editing process, which has taken some time. So this is a deeply, deeply personal book where I all my writing is deeply personal, but I really go into depth. So what it is a teaching memoir. So when I say teaching memoir, I share all the elements of my life as a memoir, and then I share what I learned and what I went through as a teaching experience to others. And because it's so deeply personal, the editing process is taking time in this book, but I'm excited to share it, but I'm also nervous because even though I've shared my story in bits and pieces with so many different people on so many different stages and so many different venues, it's entirely different to lay it out from A to Z in a book where someone can consume it all and just realize that this is my truth. And it's exposing a new level of vulnerability for me, right? Because there are people that are going to deny my truth. There are people that are going to have pushback. And it's a new opportunity for me to test my boundaries of self-love and see, okay, where am I still lacking? Where can I still work on it? Where can I still build on it?
I love that. You know, you talk about the feeling of it's different. Speaking about it, going on platforms, having interviews, sharing your story is way different than laying it out in a book. It's layered. People are going to read it. They have it in their hand. They're going to refer back to it. They're going to go back. They're going to try to strip it away. They're going to try to say it's a lie. They're going to say a lot of things. However, one thing that I learned was I cannot focus on how you feel about what my truth is. I can only focus on my truth and the impact that I want other people to feel and what it's going to do for their lives. So I'm excited for what your book is about to do for people and how it's going to shift their insides. I'm excited for January 2026. And I want to know, what is your hope for readers? What do you want readers to get out of reading Broken to Blissful?
That wherever you are, no matter how low you feel, that there is a flip side to it. And it is possible for you, and you can get there.
And how did you come up with the title? The title is timeless. And I'm like, I want to know. Broken to Blissful.
Because that is so representative of my journey. Because I felt like I started in the place where I could not have been more broken, right? I know what it's like to be lying on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I have been there, right? And I also know what it is to be where I am now. And it doesn't mean that I don't have a down moment, but my down moments feel like I'm on top of the mountain compared to how low I used to be before, right?
How can we keep an eye out for this book? How can we get connected with you? How can we be on that list to make sure we get the first copy when it drops? And how can listeners reach out to you to reap the benefits of your coaching services and for you to be a voice in their lives?
So there's two ways. So I'm at Navi Bliss. So NaviBliss at all platforms, but mainly I'm on Instagram and TikTok. So you can definitely connect with me there. And also through my website, which is navibliscoaching.com.
I'm excited. I can't wait to get my copy, my personal signed copy. I'm excited for January. That would be my Christmas gift to myself. I have a little game and it's called Rapid Fire. It's just fun and engaging, and all I want you to do, no overthinking, because that would be cheating. The first thing
Okay.
that comes to your mind, shoot it at me. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then you just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay. Deal.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Love in one word.
Acceptance.
Most blissful place you've ever been.
In my calm, neutral mind.
The first book that changed your life.
Oh, this is hard. I want to say maybe Little Women.
Okay. A red flag in a relationship that people ignore too often.
What starts out as an inconvenience is only going to be something that grows. So you have to decide right in the beginning, is this an inconvenience that I'm willing to deal with forever?
Your personal mantra right now.
This isn't mine, but it's stolen from Abraham Hicks, but it's one that I use every day, which is the better it gets, the better it gets.
The better it gets, the better it gets. The better it gets, the better it gets.
Yeah. So instead of waiting for the other shoe to drop, which is a place where a lot of people are in, it's being anticipation. Oh, things are great. They're going to get even better now.
I love that. And I think that we can all live by that rather than looking at things from a negative standpoint. The better it gets, the better it gets. And it's getting better because your book, Broken to Blissful, is coming out soon. January is right around the corner. Navi, I really want to thank you for being present, authentic, and you. You are full of love. You are full of light. And you are so pure, raw, and authentic. I absolutely enjoyed sitting with you today. And I pray that you continue to allow God to move within you and flourish each and every step that you take. Because you are a voice that many people will continue to repeat in their head. It's not yours, but it's someone else's, but you saying you owned it. The better it gets, the better it gets. And that's something that I know that listeners will replay in their head.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for saying yes to me. I know sometimes if you say thank you, thank you, thank you, but no, thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes to grace the Life to Seize platform and bless other listeners.
I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I hope that your listeners were able to get something beneficial and useful out of this. And I just want to thank you for being a great interviewer.
Oh gosh, did you say I was a great interviewer? Thank you. I'm gonna receive that.